is 20th day of February, and we have a regular town council meeting. So welcome to the media, Channel 32, Mrs. McCarthy, which I cannot see. And we have a delegation from STARS, and we also have a delegation from the Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to all of you. So we have, we're going to call this meeting to order. It's 5 o'clock. We will have Jeff and Councillor Court come later on the Zoom meeting. They are in Edmonton and we're there for the budget, representing our town. All right, we have an agenda.
I make a motion to adopt the agenda of the 28th day of February 2023.
Thank you. All in favor? Thank you. We have quorum, by the way, so we're okay. All right, so we're just going to turn the time to STARS, our delegation. Come on to the lectern. Thank you, lectern.
Well, thank you very much. We're certainly pleased to be here and see you again and bring you an annual update. As well, first I want to just, I want to introduce Martin Abel. So he's duly hired to help me to connect and keep our councils well informed. So he is out of Lethbridge, and so he will be helping me with all of the southern area municipalities, including yourselves as well. So going forward, he will be bringing you annual updates. And of course, I'd love to stop in and see you anytime that I happen to be in the area as well. So we will still work together to serve all of the municipalities across the region and across the province. But Martin does have, yeah, please, Martin Abel, just give us a quick little bio of your background.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. As Glenda mentioned, it's a pleasure to meet all of you and to be representing STARS here today. My previous two jobs, I was working as the Economic Development Officer for Lethbridge County, and before that, Fort Macleod. And I just want to acknowledge your town's CAO. When I was new to municipal administration in Fort Macleod, Jeff Shaw invited me down to Cardston, toured me around, fed me lunch, and just kind of gave me a really nice introduction. That has stayed with me ever since. So I tip my hat, and that's my little connection here to Cardston.
Well, thanks.
Okay, so first and foremost, we'll get started, but on the very first slide, I would like to draw your attention to the fact that after 37 years of serving Albertans, that STARS is going through a bit of a rebrand. So you'll see a little bit different logo there, as well as the fact that, you know, our mandate has always been saving lives, and now as a newer vision with many learnings that we learned during the COVID years, that we have an additional vision, and that is to provide critical care anywhere. There. So as an update, so STARS is fueled by generosity. We thank the town of Cardston as well for being a long-term supporter of STARS. Previously, you know, since 2010, we had a 10-year affiliation agreement with Alberta Health Services for 20% government funding. Last year in the spring, Alberta Health Services announced that they would be looking to move to 50% government funding for STARS. I'm pleased to say that at the very end of 2022, we did receive that. Now we are in very high-level discussions as we speak on whether or not we can secure another multi-year service agreement. So 50% government funding does align Alberta with what we've already been receiving from Saskatchewan and Manitoba governments for the bases that are located in those provinces. So as we move forward, we're very hopeful that, you know, we will also be able to come to an agreement to secure another long-term multi-year service agreement. So we will see how that goes in the discussions that are happening right now. In the meantime, on the right-hand side, let's look at the expenditures. So the orange and the blue represent the aviation and medical expenditures. So more than 3/4 of all expenditures are aviation and medically related. The smaller piece is the gray, which is 6% for the STARS Emergency Link Center, which is our dispatch center, as well as this is our 4th year to remain at 12% for administration costs. So we're very, very proud of that fact. CRA allows charitable entities up to 35% for administration costs, and we are now 4 years in a row at 12%. So we are very, very proud of that.
You'll have to move this slide. No.
Thank you. So here we're at, just to bring you an update of where are we at with municipal support across Alberta and into northeastern BC. So as you can see now, we're very much bringing the entire province together with municipalities in providing just as a united effort, some additional support to help with sustainability for STARS in Alberta. So currently we're over 90% in Alberta's regional partnerships. We've just added 4 new rural municipalities as well as 4 more urban municipalities like yourselves, building on these regional partnerships. So very much like County of Cardston along with Town of Cardston. That's a regional partnership. So now we're trying to really, expand on that throughout the entire province. So currently you are at a $1 per capita annual. We greatly appreciate that, but more importantly, we appreciate the fact that you are a part of this municipal initiative across the province. So together, we are ensuring that we have a health and safety network for all. Currently, we're generating, as a collective effort, over $2 million in sustainable support annually from municipalities, also including the 7 districts in northeastern BC on the BC side as well. We have of support each year and place that in their protective services budget. So we're annually a line item in their budgets, much like you have also done for us as well. And we're very happy to announce that we will also be adding 2 more logos on the helicopter this spring for Sturgeon County as well as Birch Hills County that have reached this level of support. So everything that you see green on the map represents a municipal supporter across our province.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. We do want to take a moment here and just give you some statistics, some numbers for what STARS is doing in Cardston and the Cardston area. So you can kind of see the statistics for the last 5 full years as well as the first 2 months of 2023. And you can see that STARS has flown here into the area fairly consistently over the years. And kind of interesting because it's not always just Cardston, Town of Cardston residents. Sometimes you have people coming from the surrounding area, transported by local ground ambulance to the Cardston Hospital and then picked up here. So you kind of see that top line there, Cardston Hospital, critical interfacility transfers. That's where the bulk of the STARS flights occur.
You will see that there is an increasing in the last couple of years of 2 missions kind of before. So you're following the trend that we are seeing across the province, and that is increasing mission volume. Next. So this is information that we're really excited to bring you. Let's look on the left-hand side to begin with. So this has been 10 years in the making. Since we were able to access data back to 2010, now this is only for patients that we had their postal code. So no other patient information, only the postal code where they lived at the time that they were flown by STARS. So it certainly is not an accurate portrayal of how many missions were flown for residents within your boundaries, because we would have had to have patient postal code, and we did not have patient postal code for every patient that's been flown. So this is utilizing that data that we did have the patient postal code. So within the municipalities and urban municipalities within Cardston County boundaries, there's been a total of 114 residents that have been flown. So now those that have had Cardston postal code, so it would include your rural neighbors that may also have a Cardston postal code. Then there's been 75 residents that have been flown since 2010. But more importantly, let's look on the right-hand side. The red dots, or the listings underneath that you see at the bottom, the red dots represent where these residents were at the time they were flown by STARS. So now you can see that all of these area residents have been served by all 3 bases in Alberta and even into BC, so across 2 provinces. Some municipalities are represented with red dot locations across all prairie provinces in Western Canada. So it really is a testament to the value of our partnership together. Together, we are ensuring that your residents have access to a robust health and safety network across Western Canada. So they have access to STARS. And more importantly, again, at no cost to them. So that's the value of our partnership. Next slide.
So one of the parts of STARS that maybe isn't as obvious as the red helicopters is our Emergency Link Center in Calgary, at the Calgary base. And this acts as a dispatch center for operations across all 3 provinces, or any call or any emergency that's deemed critical care. So the volume of calls that come in is incredibly high, over 36,000 emergency requests per year. So that's about 99 emergency requests per day. And so what happens is that the Emergency Link Center will work with STARS, work with local ground ambulance, work with Alberta Health Services Fixed Wing, and even work with other services such as HALO to provide the optimal transportation solution and care for a critically ill patient. The other thing that is really great about the Emergency Link Center is that we have transport physicians there. So sometimes we have physicians on board the helicopters, but even when they're not on board the helicopters, the transport physicians can provide advice to the crew on the helicopter, the flight nurse, and the flight paramedic, to give them the best advice and the best guidance possible as they deal. They also, our transport physicians, can remotely assist in rural hospitals. So for example, if somebody is brought to the Cardston Hospital and they need specialized expertise, our transport physicians out of the ELC can patch in and start providing that medical assistance as well. Now, one thing that really excites me personally is our helicopters. We have just completed a fleet renewal. This happened, we got our 10th helicopter last October, and so now we fly across all bases in Western Canada, the Airbus H145. So what's important about it is that it's a new helicopter, or newer helicopter for STARS. It has a 5-bladed system that gives it increased lift and load capacity. It requires less maintenance, and that means increased availability and reduced costs. So the helicopters are available more often for more missions, and it costs less money. It outperforms our previous model, the BK-117, so it's more updated with speed, range, and fuel efficiency. It still has those twin engines, which are so important to land at hospital helipads. Helicopters must have twin engines, so it has that capability. Advanced avionics, and superior safety features. I'll just draw your attention to the tail of the helicopter there. You can see that the tail rotor is enclosed. That is called a fenestron tail, and it's safer. When the helicopter's on the ground, emergency personnel are working around it. You don't have that exposed rotor spinning. It's kind of a little bit more guarded in its case there, and that makes it safer. Also, STARS was the first civilian organization in Canada to have night vision goggles for its crew. That happened in 2002, so for over 20 years, we've had 24-hour capability. So our flights aren't grounded when it's nighttime. We can fly 24 hours a day. All right. So we want to talk a little bit about what's in the helicopters themselves, what makes it special. The back of each of our H-145s is like a mobile intensive care unit with specialized medical equipment. So one thing that we have is the handheld iStat lab. It can take a few drops of blood, and using that blood can give hemoglobin, blood gases, and electrolyte information. And it gives those test results in less than 2 minutes. So what that allows is for when they're dealing with pain medication or trying to manage a patient's pain, by analyzing, using the iStat lab, they can find the right combination of pain management drugs to provide optimal
Thank you. Okay, additional specialized equipment in the back of the helicopter is the Hamilton VT1 ventilator. It's fully featured, the same as what you would find in the intensive care units in the hospital. It is especially made for transport systems, and so it also, provides optimal ventilation therapy, but for all sizes of patients, adult, pediatric, even neonatal. We always carry 2 units of universal blood. That's O negative, blood that can be accepted by any one of us. We're very proud to have been the very first helicopter EMS program in North America to bring this life-saving measure on board. And it has been an advancement in care for trauma patients and has been the difference between life and death for many patients. The video laryngoscope, now that is an advancement in intubation, which was widely used, especially during the COVID years when so many patients needed to be intubated. So you can see that our crews can view the trachea right on screen. This is especially important when they are managing difficult airways. For such patients as trauma patients, burn patients, maybe someone that's been crushed on impact, it's really vital that we can intubate the first time effectively, immediately, for a patient that can no longer breathe for themselves. The Easy-IO drill. Now, this is a piece of equipment that we have had for a long time and used, especially in the critical care areas that we serve. But as well, they continue to perfect it, so you can see that it's very much a small, tiny little handheld drill now, only used in time-sensitive, life-threatening cases when we must have immediate IV access for a severe trauma patient so that we can start that stabilization and pain management. So we can take this little drill a hole into a shoulder bone or a leg bone, and immediately have IV access. I know some people had kind of, squirm about it, but really, when you're dealing with a severe trauma patient, like they don't even feel it at all, and it is that difference between being able to start pain management immediately. Handheld ultrasound. Now, this provides test results for the rapid diagnosis of collapsed lungs, trauma-related internal bleeding, heart abnormalities, even fetal compromise in ill or injured pregnant mothers. So now we can help to expedite the treatment plans, because while we are en route to the hospital, the new helicopters are equipped with the latest technology of integrated Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, satellite connectivity. We can now have these test results and transmit them to the receiving doctors at the receiving hospitals while we are en route with that patient. And so they can expedite their treatment plans on the other end. So as soon as that patient arrives, that patient can go directly into trauma surgery, neurosurgery, cardiac cath lab, a plethora of different areas depending on what that patient requires. We always carry a plethora of pain management drugs, including the thrombolytics for stroke patients. It would require for a query stroke patient that they are delivered to the nearest CAT scanner or the hospital that is on the stroke protocol. So we have agreements with all of the hospitals in Western Canada that are on the stroke protocol. So if we have a query stroke patient on board, we can alert them by radio, let them know we are coming en route with a query stroke patient, get that patient in immediately for a CAT scan in order to determine if it is the correct type of stroke that warrants the thrombolytic drugs. 25% of our calls, we do have a transport physician that also accompany the intensive care nurse and the advanced life support paramedic. We always fly with 2 pilots for safety as well. So we carry the physician's kit with central venous catheterization lines and even a temporary pacemaker if there needs to be a temporary insertion in order to stabilize a patient while en route to the cardiac cath lab. So many different varieties. This is just a small example of some of the really high-level equipment within the back of the helicopter that really provides that intensive care unit environment as soon as we arrive on scene for the patient.
We also want to talk very briefly about the flight nurse and flight technician that's in the back of the helicopter on every flight. They undergo and are always doing rigorous training and upgrading. Every year, STARS holds an internal competition where all the flight crew or the flight paramedics and nurses can compete. And from the best 2 that come out of that competition at STARS, we send them to an international conference, the Air Medical Transport Conference. And this brings together or brings in teams, air medical teams from across North America, Europe, and other parts of the world. And there they have an even more intense competition to determine the best crew of all. And we're really pleased in the 20 years that STARS has been sending personnel, sending our top team to this competition, they have never placed below 3rd place, always in the top 3. And in 7 of those 20 years, they've been number 1. And you can see here in the most recent one in 2022, once again, they took home 1st place. Kevin Easton and Chris Fay. So we are incredibly proud of their competence. They stack up very well in the best of the best around the world.
And in closing, we would like to we want to thank the town of Cardston. We want to thank you for your leadership. We want to thank you for your dedication to STARS. And we want to thank you for your continued support. Now, your current pledge of support has been $1 per capita annually on a standing motion, meaning that you are allowing for us each year in your budgets, and we very much appreciate that sustainability. As we move forward, though, many municipalities across the province, we are seeing increased fluctuation of census, and that is also increasing and affecting what we receive on what we can count on, even though the mission rate is rising each year, as well as, the fuel costs are rising, the medical supplies are rising, like it just goes on and on and on, and we need to build sustainability. So many municipalities have moved to accommodate a fixed rate that has been already in their budgets or close to, within their budgets that they've been working on. Help us to alleviate that fluctuation. So our request to you is for your consideration of a slight top-up to a fixed rate annually, still remaining on standing motion, that gives us that opportunity for that sustainability piece. A life is saved every day, and it's partnership that makes it possible. You make it possible. We can't do it without you, and so we really appreciate your consideration to join many others that are building in this sustainability piece for us by moving to a fixed rate. And on that note, we would like to just take this moment to acknowledge that we very much value your partnership, and we would like to offer a very small token of our appreciation in hopes that you will be proud to show your residents that you are a partner with STARS, and that you are ensuring that they have access to robust health and safety network across the Western Prairies, wherever they may travel. So, we'd like to present this plaque for the town of Cardston.
Thank you so much.
Ask if it's possible that we could have a photo with you
Yes.
as a
Shan,
presentation.
can you do that?
I told you it was photos tonight, guys, didn't I?
Thanks for that.
You can use my cell phone if you want.
You're one of the first to receive with a brand new helicopter as well.
Do you want to use my cell phone?
He's just grabbing the stuff upstairs.
Okay.
Well, the caption says, Town of Cardston, partnership saves lives. Thank you for your leadership and dedication to STARS.
You know, I think if we were to all come there,
Oh, the
push
flash
this
would be beautiful.
chairs out of the way. If you want to come this way, and then we can gather around you. No, councillors, come on, we're going to gather together.
Oh, go ahead.
Come on over
in the middle,
here.
or?
I feel like I'm gonna be
And,
Oh.
sure.
Thank you.
Thank you to you. Go ahead.
You're one of the first to have with the new photo of the new, brand new helicopter.
Okay. Do you want to start with one picture there? Okay. There you go, it was a professional.
Oh, yes. Thank you very much for that. Are we okay for the glare on the, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to look down. For the glare on the plaque?
We're doing good.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your partnership.
Yeah, and all the best.
Yes.
All the best. Thank
And we
you.
appreciate your consideration for a little bit of a talk.
We'll think about it.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Are there any questions before we?
No, I'm really pleased to see that your fleet is now complete. I have been on council for a long time, and you were saying we have 1, we have 2, we have 5, we want 10. You finally got it.
We are fine.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
10.
it's really wonderful.
Absolutely. We're very proud of that fact. You know, every level of government, federal, provincial, municipal, we're all involved. Every community member, you know, it was a coming together of the entire part of Western Canada to complete 10 H145s. And we couldn't be prouder, you know. We received the last one just in October of last year. And the entire fleet is complete, delivered, and paid for.
And we know how valuable your service are. We've seen it in our town, even with our CEO, Jeff Shaw, his son, had the privilege to be attended by STARS when he had his issues after a game or during a game. And so thank you so much for
Thank you
having
again.
been there for
We
him.
look forward to working more closely with you as the years go by.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. All right, we have minutes of the February 14 meeting. Hi, Jeff. I think Councillor Court was there a minute ago. Hi, Councillor Court. I hope you have good news plenty for us from that budget. We'll look forward to you telling us all about it. We listened to it somewhat, and yeah, you will have to give us the details. So we have minutes that need to be approved. Councillor Kenley?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the town council meeting of February 14th, 2023.
Thank you. All in favor? Thank you very much. Okay. All right, so here under 5, under bylaws and policy, we have a strange request, but bear with us. Jeff, you want to maybe explain the conundrum we have with that noise bylaw, the old one?
I haven't checked. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. So what you saw in your backgrounder, council, is way back we brought you a noise bylaw which you passed first reading, but we ended up shifting and doing a good neighbor bylaw with its own number. So the original noise bylaw is sitting on the books with first reading, and what we're requesting is that you move second reading and then fail it, and that will get it off the records for us.
Can't rescind.
Okay, so no, you have to really do it in that manner. So the way it will go, we will have a motion to do second reading. And when I say all in favor, well, no one puts up their hand, please don't.
Well, no more than 3 of you anyway.
Otherwise you... All right, Councillor Kenley, go ahead.
Okay, I move that bylaw 1705 be given second reading.
Okay, all in favor? Saying none. Against? There. It's done, Jeff. It's fixed. All right, under 5B policy S70. That one is an interesting request. I must say I was a little bit surprised the way it went because we never had the delegation come and ask for adjustment. But nevertheless, if there is an adjustment to be considered to that policy, I really want to hear your comments regarding that.
Should Councillor Court speak to this?
Sure, if you want to, Councillor Court.
Sorry, I was missing out my phone. What am I missing out here?
Councillor Court is regarding the policy S70, is regarding the use of recreational facilities.
Oh, yes. I was approached by minor hockey. They're missing out on home games because they can't play on Sunday. They assured me that they have a town employee that will work that day. It gives them home games. They finish quite high in the rankings and they have to go away for their own game. So they're looking for, I guess, a policy that will allow them to have a game on Sunday for their playoffs, providing that the town workers will be okay with doing that. They will pay the town workers double time or whatever it costs. So.
All right, so my question here is, when is that game going to happen, Councillor? When are they planning on having that game?
They've already missed one playoff game last week because we weren't meeting in council. The other one will be on Sunday this week. And there may be another one if they keep winning. So I wonder if we could make this policy based on the fact that we don't have to come to council every time that they need a Sunday game if the policy will allow that to happen.
Okay.
They won't be playing that many, it will basically be playoffs.
Okay, so that...
For example, it's a disadvantage to our kids to have to, if they're a home team and have to go to, say, Brooks or Tabor to play a game because they missed out on their home team, their home ice. So.
All right, so we have a policy. There is a lot of things attached to that policy that has to do with staffing. So, Jeff, you had your hand up.
Yeah. Oh, I was actually showing 5 because the proposed game is on March 5th.
Yeah. March 5th. Okay, all right. Well, now you're helping me. So, Jeff, for me, go ahead, Councillor. I'm sorry I don't hear you.
I talked to Jeff about that policy with the employment agreement, and it's all okay.
Okay, so let's hear it from Jeff. Jeff, when we change a policy regarding staffing, the worst we really don't want is to have a policy that fixes an issue today, but it becomes a problem next year when we don't have those same people that are available, willing to give up their time. So I'm wondering if we shouldn't look at a change in policy that is broader in terms and will be more flexible, but on the other hand, not specific to just this year. So, Jeff, can you tell me if you could recraft that policy? It's not hearing me. Councillor Burton, go ahead. You're not hearing me.
My thought was that
Can you hear us?
No.
Well, that we know it works. Jeff, can you hear us? Jeff, can you hear us? No. Can you hear us? No. Can you hear us? Can you speak?
They're talking to each other.
Yeah, they're probably in the same room.
Do we have any signers in the audience?
Yeah.
My wife signs.
Technology.
Oh, they're talking to each other. but they're in the
Jeff,
same
can you hear me?
Oh, they're talking to each other.
Jeff.
And into LA was shut down because of snow.
There we go.
Yeah, last Friday. It was wild.
Hold on.
Here we go.
There we go.
Now we're back.
Okay,
back.
all right. So Jeff, my question to you was regarding the changes in that policy. Can we have administration craft a policy that would be not only specific to the needs this year, but in general when we do not have those volunteers that can assist us?
So the short answer would be obviously yes, it could be done. I just wanted to mention a couple of things. Right now, our association contract says that we're mutually agreed we can staff facilities on Sundays because we needed that for the golf course, and we have full-time staff at the golf course. Right now, we have mutually agreed staff at the ice rink, so they are certainly willing to help for one event or a couple hours on a Sunday that they can manage the schedule. So that's okay. Jill and I had a visit with rec staff yesterday, I believe yesterday morning. So that can certainly be done. I think what you brought up before the sound went, Mayor, was one of the challenges is we have willing staff today, but what if we don't have them next year? What if we don't have staff with kids in minor hockey? What if that all doesn't come together? What's the community pressure on those staff to be open for the whole month of February and March? For playoffs, for example, and they're not terribly comfortable with that implication, but for this year, for this game, we have staff that are certainly willing to accommodate the game. How that looks years going forward, I don't have my head completely clear on that yet.
Okay, Councillor Burton, you wanted to
Yeah,
say
so
something?
I think if we're going, I would rather look at our policy as a whole than I would
Yeah.
an exception, because then,
Yeah.
where did the exception stop kind of thing. And it helps me to understand why we have something. So as I look at this, I noticed a couple of things. So in our poll that we did 2014,
10 years ago.
and I wasn't aware of this. This was a question, because I lived in the county then, that this was a question on the plebiscite. So 67% don't want sporting facilities open on Sunday was the result of that. Then when I look through the policy, it says that our facilities would normally remain closed. And then it gives the why, and this is what I like. It says, so as not to require staff from those facilities to work on Sunday. I think that's a worthy goal. When I was in law school, I studied a case called the Big M Drug Mart case. It was the Supreme Court of Canada, and it was the first time that Sunday opening, and I realize that's different, but it's related, was addressed by our courts after the charter came in April of 1982. And the court recognized that in our society today, Sunday may not be purely a religious holiday like it would have been, say, 100 years ago or 50 years ago. But the interesting part to me is they recognize that in a society, there's value in having what was called a common day of rest. So all religion aside, to have a common day of rest in a community is healthy for it. This was our very non-religious Supreme Court making this statement, and they based their decision on that. And so I agree with that there's some value in having a common day of rest, just because it allows families to be together. It allows them to plan time away from work and all those types of things that historically have benefited societies. So then I noticed that it says in some cases we have it open on Sunday, or it certainly could be, for example, the Agrodome or golf. And then the other things, and I think this is the most relevant part, it says in the case of ball diamonds, soccer and football fields, and now we may include with that phrase ice rinks, we're okay if people want to use them. If that's their family event, for example, to go kick a soccer ball in a field, that's fine. We just are trying not to ask our staff to have to host it. So I would be comfortable adding to the list of facilities that could be used on Sunday if we didn't have to compel someone to work. And when I say compel, we all know that if your boss wants you to work and you don't want to work, you feel compelled. So I don't want people to feel compelled, even though legally they could say no.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm personally okay with it if people want to use our facilities. Generally, they're closed, but if people, like in this case, want to use a facility, the two things that Councillor Court talked about. One is if there is a staff member, if it requires a staff member, some of them obviously don't, right? But if a staff member is required, that it truly is voluntary in the full sense.
Yeah.
And then secondly, that the cost of that is borne by whoever it is that wants to use the staff person. To me, that all just matches so nicely. And when I say cost, it would be the real cost. So, for example, if we're paying overtime, it's overtime. If we pay 4% vacation, it's plus 4% vacation, whatever that real cost is. I don't have a big problem with that, and would be prepared to, if somebody made a motion to amend our policy to accommodate that. I wouldn't be opposed to it. Going forward, I'd want to make sure that our employees didn't feel compelled, right? Even in a soft sense.
And I agree with that. That's my concern I had when I asked the question to Jeff is what happened when we don't have those volunteers next year or the year after? What happens at that point? Do they become an employee obligated to work on Sunday and now not available during the rest of the week, possibly because now it's working on Sunday rather than a day in a week, and we need that person during the week? So all that kind of was going through my mind thinking, how do we do it? How do we recraft it without impacting negatively the staff that needs to perform a certain amount of tasks during the week? And Jeff, go ahead.
Go ahead and finish your thought, Mayor. It's okay.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
I appreciate Councillor Burton's comments, and thank you for that. I would suggest in this case for this year, you do have a staff who truly are willing to work for that game, and you have a minor hockey association who are absolutely willing to pay the costs of that person. So those criteria you gave, Councillor Burton, I would suggest at least for now, those criteria are in place.
Yeah, but you cannot craft a policy on just that. It fixes a problem for this year, but as a policy, it needs to be crafted in the same manner.
But if the exception were conditional on those things, or whatever we come up with, then either it works or it doesn't. If nobody
Right, I see what you're saying.
It's closed. Yeah. If they don't want to pay for it, it's closed. If they want to pay half of it, it's closed.
Okay.
Kind of concept.
All right, so maybe what we need to do is, as you say, if you want to make a motion to that effect afterwards, go ahead, Councillor.
I want to be clear. Is this just for hockey playoff games, or is this for all games that they want to play on Sundays hereafter? Is it, you know,
All comes back to what
being,
you said.
having a family that played hockey, I know the frustrations of the hockey teams of not being able to play on Sundays here. I know the frustrations of not being able to play playoff games, because it does matter if you're playing at home or not. I also know that as a family, we did not play on Sunday, regardless of where the game was. And when it came to playoff games, because we had a son that was really good and the team needed him, we said there were conditions that, we had to attend our church meetings first. So on Sunday, and so the Spud League had to book our games after our meetings, and secondly, it was only for playoff games. So I feel the frustration. I'm in favor of playoff games being played. I'm not too sure about using it on every Sunday, but I don't know.
I was just going to say, at the end of the day, it's what Councillor Burton has said. If you have a willing staff member, then why are we saying no?
Yeah.
If
it is a volunteer, on a volunteer.
Right. If there's a willing member, like.
And whatever they call their family day, family activities, not up to us to judge. And really, religion, unfortunately, cannot be placed within policies.
To me, it doesn't matter that much what they're doing. In other words, they could have a hockey playoff game that's really important. It could be a bunch of cousins getting together to go skating or whatever. I'm not going to judge the value of what they want to do. If they meet our requirements, then I'm okay with it. If they don't, I'm not.
Okay. All right. Is somebody ready to?
I was just going to ask Jeff, what kind of motion does he need?
So I think you have two things going simultaneously here that I like where you're going with both. One is you can choose amongst you if you want to, based on the policy today, do you wish to allow today or next week? And then also I think there's another policy to direct administration to amend this policy to incorporate the principles that were discussed.
Okay, so the allowing for that minor hockey is based on the fact that we have a volunteer staff, and we, whatever cost is incurred will be taken by the Association of Minor Hockey, not by the town. Correct, Councillor Court?
That's correct. Everything is correct on that. There is no real push, obviously, to have Sunday games every week. That would take a whole different change of policy. So for now, it's just the playoff games that they're worried about.
So we're talking 1, 2, 3 games, maybe?
At the most, yes.
Okay, all right. So we need a motion to go forward to. So, Councillor Burton, are you okay with a motion to allow for that game? Do you want to put that motion forward? That's to allow for that minor hockey game.
Well, unless Councillor Court wants to.
Do you want to do that, Councillor Court?
I can do that. I'll make that motion.
Okay, all right.
That,
How do you want me to word that?
yeah, I was going to say that motion being, Councillor.
I would make a motion that we allow for minor hockey to play a playoff game on Sunday as long as they have volunteer staff that will staff it, and that full cost will be borne by minor hockey.
Okay.
This year.
This year.
This year.
Okay. All right. So, any more questions, discussions? All in favor? All right. Okay. So, Councillor Court, you can report to your association that there is support for that. We have now a second need to look at the policy more broadly.
So I'll make a motion that we direct administration to bring us a draft amending this Sunday recreational facility use policy that more broadly accommodates Sunday use on the condition of volunteer staffing and full compensation for that staff from the user.
Questions? Yeah. Questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Seeing none, all in favor? So, all right. So, I think with that, we'll move forward. Thank you, councillors.
All right, so let's look.
All right, so let's look under 6A, the Prohibition Community Engagement Plan. In your packet, you could see that Jeff has created a little bit of a timeline regarding the education portion, the involving of the community portion, the questions after we gather all the information, and then the plebiscite itself that would be pretty close to the end of May or June, something down that area. And still subject to hearing from the province if we can piggyback on the election, the provincial election or not. That piggybacked on our municipal election years back regarding the senator question. So it would be nice if they could give us that privilege. Go ahead, Councillor Burton.
We're referring to the land use bylaw plebiscite, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I have two questions probably for administration. In the land use bylaw amendment public consultation plan that I'm looking at, in paragraph 2, line 4, it says after review, so it's talking about that we would solicit comments or questions from our community. It says after review, a list of all appropriate and legitimate questions and concerns will be compiled and presented to council. My question is it what it says, that it's all of the questions and comments, or is it a summation or a conglomeration of those questions and comments?
Yeah.
Mayor, could I speak to that?
Please go ahead.
Yeah, Councillor Burton, it's a good question, and in some ways, so we go back and forth on this because much of the public wants you to see their question, right? That has some level of importance to it. They had a strong thought, a good question, they wanted it out there. But depending on how much we get, first of all, I was very intentional about saying things like appropriate and legitimate, by the way, because we'll get many that simply are inappropriate and not legitimate. So we will screen those. So our thought was that we would be able to compile the questions into themes, but there may be an appendix that has them verbatim if you're so interested. But that we could compile them into 2 or 3 or 4 themes of comments or questions. There was not an intent on our part, and I'm also guessing on council's part, to try and answer every question individually. I don't think that's an exercise we can simply do.
And then my second question is point 4. So this is in the context of our plebiscite, not our motion under the MGA.
Right.
Or under our land use bylaw. So it says that there's an open house. Now I know an open house is required, or a public hearing is actually the term under the MGA. Help me understand what the intent of the open house is.
Sure. Mayor, if I can.
Go ahead.
And I understand the struggle, Mayor. I can't see you sometimes, so I'm hoping I'm okay. But so, Councillor Burton, the thought there is that this wasn't trying to satisfy, for example, the public hearing component of a land use bylaw amendment. That isn't what it's trying to be. The goal here is that after we've collected community information, perhaps we open up the council room where people can come up, and we've got the major themes on the board of questions. We have the AGLC there to answer questions. We have, just resources and information where it's an informal setting where people can come and go as they wish and discuss with you as council some of their concerns, or they can see that we've compiled questions and have some resources that they can take back. There's further education they can take. Just something like that, where there could be some back and forth with you as elected officials for those that wanted a little more in-depth conversation.
Thank you.
Are you okay with that, Council? Councillor Brown.
I really liked the time frame. I think that's important, and once we approve this, I think it's important for our residents to know that from February to March, and this is what's going to happen, and then the next 2 weeks this is going to happen, because I think that's been a lot of not a lot, but there have been a few seniors, I would say, that are nervous that we're rushing this through the books and we're not taking the time to do our due diligence. So I really like how you've allotted it into weeks and we know from this date to this date. So I think that's fantastic.
Right. So the question is for council, are we comfortable with a timeline? Personally, I am comfortable with a timeline. Is everybody comfortable? Councillor Grainger.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with the timeline, but I have a question. Once the plebiscite is held and we know the results of that, then the actual mechanics of the land use bylaw amendment itself would kick into place only after the plebiscite, correct?
Yes.
And so sorry, Jeff, are you saying yes to that too?
Yes, Councillor. So you would have the discretion, because it's a non-binding plebiscite, you would then have the discretion of as a council to choose to move forward with second reading or not. So, for example, if overwhelmingly there's opposition to what you've proposed, you may simply not propose even looking at second reading. And so, for example, you wouldn't have to have a public hearing. But if you still wanted to have a formal public hearing and engage in potentially second reading, then we would schedule that at your discretion, and we would have that prior to second reading. But it's really in your court then.
Yeah. Well, I would anticipate that we collectively would make decisions that way, probably based on what the results of the plebiscite is telling us. That's going to be one of the best pieces of information that we'll have to guide us, and I think we're all in agreement, and that's why we're doing this. And so what I was getting at was the actual, I'll call it the official public hearing for second reading may or may not take place depending on whether we actually do a second reading, and then it unfolds from there. So thank you. That answers my question.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Brown?
Just a question. So I brought this up last time we were talking about this. So if in fact we piggyback this on the provincial election, no form of this can be online, is that correct? It can only be in ballot form?
Go ahead, Councillor. The minute you have a plebiscite. Oh, go ahead, Jeff, sorry.
Okay.
Non-councillor.
So to your question, Councillor Brown, if we hold the vote of the, so I'm trying to use all the MGA terminology here. If we hold a vote of electors, then the MGA requires we do it as per the Local Authority Election Act. So if we do that, then you are correct. It looks just like a traditional municipal election. And currently in Alberta, at least, and I will admit if I've missed something recently that I should get up to speed, but I have not seen an electronic option within an election under the Election Act. Now, what's interesting is you have the discretion not to do it under the Election Act. We just have to work through those details a bit and see what that meant from a legislative point of view. But the other thing, if I might, Mayor, is I do have a call into Elections Alberta about piggybacking on their day and adding ballots to the districts that they're servicing. I would suggest that if we piggyback with the province, you probably have no choice but to do it under the Election Act. I don't think there'd be any leeway there at all.
Which is a paper ballot.
Correct, yes.
Yeah.
Councillor Brown, do you think it's a good idea or a bad idea for the electronic? Do you think that's helpful or less helpful? I just wondered what your thinking was.
Well, just in previously, a certain generation, I would say seniors are going to go to the ballot box. And I would say my generation, his generation, and younger are going to, no offense, are going to do it online because we've got it on our phone. I can just, I'm at work, I can just do it then. So I liked when we did our rec center one, we offered both. You could call Shem at the office, you got a special code. So I see the best in both, but I do like the idea of piggybacking it on the provincial one because I know cost-wise it's better for us.
Cost aside, would you prefer the electronic option?
I like both.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yes, I like both. I feel like it's
more
inclusive, actually. Yeah. Yes, I do.
Okay, so
Okay, so Jeff, go ahead.
So, Councillor Brown, I think it's a great point, by the way, and I think that if Elections Alberta gets back to me and suggests we can't piggyback with that date, then I need to work with Municipal Affairs, and Shem may actually know this off the top of his head, but him and I will work with them to see, maybe we are just doing a bit more of a local survey, but we need to make sure that our methodology is very tight, however we do it, right? So we don't want it to get sloppy, where it's like, hand your form in at the town and we'll see how many we get, right? You don't know how many per household. And I'll use an anecdotal example here. This is what we don't want, and I might not have my number quite right, but we allowed some online voting for our Christmas light promotion that Parks and Rec did, and somebody voted hundreds of times that if you took even 2 minutes per vote, they spent most of their week voting over and over.
Yeah,
and so we have to be careful.
To me, that's a danger we have to be careful of.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you so much for the question and for your input.
So I would like, Mayor, if you feel this is a good framework, I would like a motion to adopt it, and then we will get it out to the public.
Okay. Councillor Brown, do you want to go ahead, make a motion to approve the timeline? Thanks.
Perfect. I would like to make a motion to approve the Prohibition Community Engagement Plan for 2023 as per what has been sent out to us.
Councillor Burton?
My only comment is if there's some way to make it clear to the public that the open house is not the public hearing. In other words, they don't come with 10 pages ready to let us have it.
Okay.
Either way, they're coming to enjoy what's on the boards and have a conversation. And
yeah, maybe that could be clarified, Jeff, a little bit in the language.
Very good point. Thank you. What we might do is continue on with the plan to show that a future public hearing date to be determined based on plebiscite. We could add something on the end so people know that formality may still be forthcoming.
That was the point of my comments.
Yeah, sure, Councillor. Okay.
Yep.
And so I've made the motion. Question is that Councillor Kenley just asked me, but I just want to make sure. So if we do approve this, Jeff, if you find out that we cannot piggyback, that we have to look at this differently, we can tweak this, correct?
Of course, it's always just a motion of council, you bet.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All in favor? Thank you. All right,
Thanks,
let's
Council.
move on to the next item. 6B, the Chamber of Commerce concert proposal. This time around, we have some different scenarios that Jeff prepared for us in conjunction with Shelley Willett. And we have some scenario with possibility of recouping our money, to scenario where we have to figure out how to accept to not recoup our money and still need to be digging deeper in our pockets, the county and ourselves, to have that happen. So I really would like to hear from you all. First of all, there is a letter attached to the background for that item. And I must honestly say it was written by Mrs. Spirig with good intent, I suppose, to clarify her position or the Chamber's position. Unfortunately, it highlighted Councillor Burton over and over and over in that letter. So in consequence, I really believe that Councillor Burton, you should have the privilege to be able to respond publicly to this letter, because there is some points that myself, in looking at that, I don't think are exactly the facts.
thank you. So I don't have the letter in front of me.
Yeah.
So I don't have my notes in front of me, but I will make these comments. There are some inaccuracies in the letter. For example, it suggested that I said that that I had said to Mrs. Spierig that council was deceived, and I didn't say that. What I did say was that I felt that the issue, if it was known at the time that it was intended to serve alcohol at all, let alone at the high school, that it would have been prudent, given that alcohol is a current and lively issue before council, to bring that up. Second comment I'll make, I didn't imply that laws would be broken by serving alcohol to minors at the school. What I did say was that I felt it sent a mixed message to those young people. And I think part of the message that we as town council, certainly I being on the safety committee and having recently met with the RCMP, and the RCMP expressing their genuine concern that we have far more impaired driving incidents in our community than any community should have, let alone our community, and those are their words. That, and then discussing how we can take the message into our high schools and to our young people, helping them understand the magnitude of poor decisions with alcohol and the impact that can have on individuals and families and communities' lives. That's one message that we as a council, we as a community are trying to get to our young people. And I don't think anybody would dispute that. And I wonder that it sends a conflicting message to some degree to serve alcohol at the high school. So we try to tell them you don't have to have alcohol to have fun, and then we have to have alcohol to have fun. To me, having it at the high school is, oh, thank you. Having it at the high school does send a mixed message. So I didn't suggest ever, nor do I now, that laws were going to be broken. I don't expect that of anybody. But that was my concern, and that I had expressed to Mrs. Spierig. So, and then I did make the comment that I felt like serving alcohol made it less of a family event. And I recognize that that's just my own opinion, that there are lots of family events where alcohol is served. So that probably was an inaccurate comment, just my own personal opinion. And so I think I'll just leave my comments at that. I would have, when I looked at the material that was sent in, I had 3 questions. And Mary, if you want me to ask those.
Please go ahead.
That I wasn't clear on. So firstly, I'm not clear if, and I just want to put out one thing too, the county, I spoke with one of the councillors, they have already released their $15,000, and when they met yesterday, didn't feel like they wanted to pull that back. So that is static. It's stayed the way it is. So my 3 questions are, when revenue, let's say that we vote to release $15,000 towards this event. When the money then revenue comes in, I would like to know the proposed order in which it's paid back. And it wasn't entirely clear to me from the material what that order would be. I think I know the answer, but I would like to really know the answer. In other words, we have several players. We have, I'll put the town and county parallel to each other. We have the organizer, we have the chamber, and perhaps other parties in that mix. Those are the ones that I know about. So in the event there is a profit or a loss, what's the order that those generated funds are distributed? That's my first question. Second question, I already gave a couple of talks today, and my voice is failing me. My second question is, in the event there's a loss, are we expected to then contribute further money that one of the parties I mentioned or some other party aren't made whole? In other words, would anybody ever come back to us looking for more than $15,000 to make up a shortfall? And then my third question, and the one that I'm famous for having discussed, is it proposed, yes or no, that alcohol will be served at one of our public schools? It's still not clear to me at this point whether the answer is yes or no. So those are the three questions I had that would help me make a more informed vote here today.
All right.
Okay. All right. So, Jeff, do you have some answers regarding any of those questions? Or is that still a matter of having to discuss that further with Mrs. Willett?
Thank you, Mayor. Sure. So, thank you, Mayor. I think I have some answers. I think I have some answers on those questions. Now, for some context, Council made a resolution to, in principle, support this activity pending me doing some further due diligence. That due diligence has been, well, interesting, let's put it that way. And some of it leaves a few more questions than answers, but we're getting somewhere. So I wrote down your questions, Councillor. Let me attack them in order, if I might. So the proposed order, the money is paid back. I don't know that, but what I would suggest is that the town and the county are probably at the end of the line. And the reason is because the artist needs paid, and the promoter needs paid, and the people that provide stage and lighting and all that equipment need paid. And I don't think anyone's arguing that. And so it just seems as though if you as a council are choosing to financially back the event, then you are assuming a level of risk in that event that you're probably at the end of the line. Because otherwise, people are coming after someone to get paid. I think that can go without saying.
So that was my assumption as well, which leads to question number 2.
Sure, yep. Yes, it segues nicely, Councillor. So what question number 2 is if there's a loss, who's covering it? And again, I think the answer here, and I'm making an assumption because there's a couple things I don't know. I do not know the Chamber's ability to cover a loss. I'm making an assumption it isn't great. And I don't blame them for that. That's the fiscal reality of the Chamber. That's fine. So my guess is that if there is performers, promoters, stage people, lighting people, security people, food service people, etc., looking for money, they're looking at one of the municipalities to cover it. Because I don't know who else you can't squeeze blood from a stone, as the old saying goes. And so they would be hoping to come to us. If I was in those shoes, I think that's where it would be. And so, and then as far as your question number 3, so as it sits today, and granted I have not been involved in much discussion over this over the last week or so, as it sits today, my understanding is that it would not be a licensed activity today, but I have not asked that question in the last week or so.
Well, my question wasn't just is it licensed, mine was more specific. Is it licensed? Are they proposing to have an event license at one of the public schools?
So I guess I would lump those together for me. The last discussion I had with Shelley was that likely no, given the new artist and given the what's the word I want, the target market for the artist, which skews much younger than the original artist of Diamond Rio does, they would probably not consider getting an event license for the school. But again, as the town, not the organizer here, I'm not really comfortable saying that's a definitive answer. That was just my last time I asked the question.
So the answer is, from your due diligence, we don't know.
The answer is last time I asked. The answer is last time I asked, the answer was no.
Okay. I need to go back to the story of the shortfall. Imagine if we look at the worst scenario, we'll feel more comfortable moving forward. Hopefully the scenario will be so much more rosy. So if there is a shortfall, at the end of the day, the town, imagine, would put 15,000, the county has put 15,000. Imagine there's still another $20,000 that'd be covered. Is that split with the county? Are they okay with that, or are we stuck with it?
Mayor, if that question was for me. Mayor, if that question was for me, I don't know the county's position on that.
But
I know that the county's original position was, like yours, when I talked to their CAO, was that it was a loan with the intent of having it repaid. So my guess is there isn't I just have to assume there isn't an appetite to cover an additional shortfall, but I can't speak for the mayor. That's just my feeling on it.
Councillor Brown?
Would it not be appropriate to have Shelley come to the mic so that Jeff hasn't talked to her in a week. I'm guessing things have changed. Maybe they haven't. Is there anything wrong with her stepping forward and us finding out as of today at 6:15 the latest, the greatest news?
We don't have a delegation, but we have the person, but we don't have a delegation on the agenda.
Yes, but I feel like it's appropriate.
Yeah, just Councillor Colt? We can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Here we go. Thinking this over, April 29th is coming up pretty fast. I don't think they're that well organized right now. The host this event, I'd strongly encourage them to maybe delay it to the fall when things can be a little bit better organized and we can understand what they're actually looking for. I'm not sure they know what they're looking for right now. So I'd be more in favor to try and talk them into delaying this to the fall instead of trying to rush it through in the next month and a half or 2 months.
Okay. Councillor Grainger?
As you all will recall, I was never really in favor of this to begin with. I had many questions back at the beginning of the time of the original motion. Now that I see the figures, I just think this is too risky. It's a bad investment. If it was my personal money, I wouldn't put a dime in this because somebody's going to take a bath on this, and I'm afraid it's going to be our taxpayers. And I'm just simply not prepared. I wasn't prepared before, and now that I see this, I'm even less prepared to support this. So I'll be voting against this. I just don't think it's, I mean, the idea is a good one. It's an interesting one, but the figures don't add up. Somebody's going to take a bath on this, and as Jeff points out, there's fixed costs that have to be met. If those costs aren't met by the revenues, and I'm very skeptical that we would be able to sell 1,000 tickets. If we only sell 750, there's a loss. And then what do we do with the loss? There's just too many questions. I've got too much of an unease about this thing. And then when you throw the whole alcohol at the school, yes or no, all these uncertainties, it's just mush in the cake. I just can't do it. Sorry.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kenley.
I was just going to say before Councillor Grainger gave us his vote that we could understand what Councillor Brown, can we have some information?
So
I just find it,
we need to have a unanimous vote. If it's not a unanimous vote, you cannot have the person talk. So would you allow Mrs. Willett to take center stage?
All in favor?
All in favor? All right. So you are more than welcome to come. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me step up. I know there's a lot of questions, and no one's asking for any more money. Let me put that forward right off the top. The county was very secure in the fact that they were willing to help support this, but they weren't going to put any more money in. But when we changed the artist, we never asked for any more money. We just stated that we have a change, this is what it's going to cost. Randy's prepared to come down. He's going to be coming shortly. As soon as we get the feedback from their group, he'll be here hitting the ground running. All these things will be covered before we even ask you for a dime. This is what we're hoping for. So when Randy gets here and he sells all the tables, he gets all the promotions out, he does his due diligence to make it go, he's going to know at the end of that week where we sit. He's never going to put himself in a position, he's been doing this for over 20 years, in smaller towns than this one. He's not going to put himself out there either if he didn't think it would work. So we're going to know that week that he's here how we're sitting. I don't see it to be a problem. We've got more support than I expected from all over the region. So it's not just from town.
Okay. Councillor Kenley, Councillor Brown, Councillor Burton.
I was just gonna say, I mean, so they're not asking for money like in their pocket until he comes and does this. To see kind of what's the word I'm trying to think, the momentum building though. Are we gonna sell tickets like?
So let me confirm that. I understand the county already has put money in the bank. But what you're telling us that we as a town could wait to give you that money.
That's right.
Until after Taylor comes and pre-sell his.
Correct.
So
there's nothing, we're not asking for anything at this
All
point.
right. So at this point, it's still in principle until that is the proof in the pudding.
Correct.
Okay? So that's comforting.
So, thank you. I mean, that's why I wanted you to come forward, because I feel like you can answer these questions rather than hearsay. So, because in this beautiful graph that I don't know if you've done, or balance sheet that, or I don't know if it's Jeff or you.
I think Jeff did all that fancy footwork.
But it just says, so we have 15,000 from the town, 15,000 from the county, and then the chamber, there's nothing in there. So is the chamber putting money into this?
So we're doing all the organizing. We definitely have money that needs to go into it for our permits and everything else that we have to do. So as the coordinators of this, we're just trying to funnel everything to make sure that it's secure. And like I said, Randy has to get here and do his job. We might not need a dime from council at all.
So if in fact, sorry, B to that question. So then if Randy comes, this is kind of piggybacking on Councillor Kenley's question, but if Randy comes then and it's dead, there's nobody wanting to sell. I mean, heaven forbid. I'm all for this, right? But let's just say, because we've got some fear going on here. So if he comes to our community and he hears nothing, nobody is interested in this, then
he gets paid for his time of being here for that week. We need to pay, so basically what it's looking at, if this completely fell apart, it would be 15,000.
The county's money or ours?
That's the bottom line. So if everything fell apart and not one person wanted to buy a ticket, not one person wanted to buy a VIP table, and he would sit back and go, okay, this isn't going to fly here. I'm going to the next town. So we're already, he's been doing this for a long time. So he's already got towns that are lined up that if everything falls apart with somebody else, he has that backup. So that's smart on his behalf. But it's also, when he was here and with the feedback that we're getting, I mean, this is going to be a fabulous event. I'm just concerned about what we're going to do about the school issue. Because it's not, so one more thing, sorry. It's not up to me, when Jeff and I were speaking, and I did say that to him, but it's not up to me, it's up to the council, to my board, and how we're going to proceed this. Everybody wants it to stay the same.
With alcohol.
Well, that might change.
But
things.
So I'm going to keep asking questions. So Westwind School Division, last you talked to them.
We got a letter saying they confirmed everything.
So you're
They
good to
approved
go for alcohol, and I know the county's on board, Westwind School Division is on board if you choose to have alcohol at this event.
We've already got the email with the approval letter.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if we don't have anything to go on that. It's never been,
Everything else
changed.
is hearsay.
Right.
Thank you.
So let me go back to that notion. How recent is that letter from the school?
Do we have that?
It's in our email.
I'm sorry. It was just, I think you should have it as well, no?
February 15th.
Yeah, February 15th.
So is that before or after your communication?
That was
announcement?
before.
All right. So.
But I haven't received anything since.
Yeah, because they're waiting for us.
Okay.
So it's their decision will be depending on our decision, from what I understood last.
Mhm.
In that case, it's a different story.
So they will rescind?
Yeah, I would.
So what does that, but according to what? What do we have to, what's,
Who says this, Mayor?
What's this one?
Is Jeff there?
No, he's not, unfortunately.
Can't see a
Yeah.
date.
Okay, Jeff, help us understand a little bit.
February 16th, I think,
Is what?
the date of our information from the board.
Jeff, we need to understand a little bit the flow of information between the school board and the town after they found out or thought that we had approved the event with alcohol. Is that still for them a go or not a go, with or without our approval?
So I'd have to call Peter and ask, just because the board, the presentation to the board is on February 13th. The letter that's written here was on February 15th. I don't remember exactly. I'd have to go just do a little bit of looking. So, but here's how I interpreted the conversation following. The board chair seemed to be quite concerned about whether or not the town was okay with the event being licensed. I think you as councillors got, what did we, I got an email from the school division saying they wanted a public statement from the town council that they were aware it was going to be licensed and held at the school. And I apologize, I just don't know if it was in those 2 days, but that was the next sequence of events.
I think it was
Then
the 16th.
Pardon me, councillor?
Looking at my phone, I think it was on the 16th that
Okay.
email came.
So then the Westland board chair, Mr. Ralph, phoned me. I talked to, well, we were texting, you as council were texting about holding a special meeting. And then I talked to Shelley, and the discussion was, given the change in performer, perhaps this wouldn't be licensed, or wouldn't have an event license anymore. And so I talked to Peter Wright at the school and said, hey, right now the discussion is that based on the performer, it may not be licensed. And he said, okay, thanks. And then we got this letter after that, because I haven't had it that long, but I just can't speak to the context in those 2 days. My understanding of it was is that they were more comfortable with it not being licensed, but that their original understanding was it was going to be licensed, but they weren't comfortable if the town wasn't comfortable.
Actually, I'm not going to say anything. That's okay.
All right, so I can see Councillor Court why you're saying maybe we need to postpone all that stuff, because nobody seems to know the left from the right. Okay. I'm sorry, what did... I'm sorry?
Anyway, we didn't authorize him to have input.
Anyways.
So I guess I personally am supporting this. And I have talked to the businesses on Main Street. I did that today. They are excited about hearing about this. I personally don't want to spend more than $15,000. I don't. And I'm confident the county doesn't, because nobody wants to. I do think that it is safe, because we're going to know. Before we write the check, we're going to know. So that's my opinion.
Okay, but maybe your interpretation is not exactly the one I heard.
Well, that's my opinion.
No, I understand your opinion, but let me clarify something. Imagine Taylor comes, cannot sell whatever he intended to. Shelley, you told me in extra food, and here now I hear the same message. that what we stand to lose then is $15,000. He is going to request $15,000 for his work. Am I correct?
Yes, but I understand the frustration and the confusion and the hesitancy because nothing like this has really been done here as a successful venue or event. You have to have a little faith in things sometimes. I don't have any reservations about what Randy can come and do. I would never put my name on something and put myself out there if it was going to fail. This has been my background for many years.
Yeah, but we understand all that. We are council, we take care of the taxpayers' money. It's their hard work money, and so that's what we are here to protect and to take a little bit of a step forward, yes, but up to a point. Councillor Kenley and Councillor Burton.
Talk about the same thing, so go ahead.
We are. I was going to say, my original motion, I'm the one that made the motion, and I think it's a great idea to have a community event that brings our communities together, and I'm prepared to spend some money on it, same as we would Heritage Days or whatever else we do that brings our community together. I think that's a worthwhile, legitimate use of taxpayer dollars. So my motion was up to $15,000.
Right.
It wasn't for $15,000 and a dollar. It was just for that much. And so the questions that I had asked stem from that. I had asked, what order is it paid back if we're last? And it turned out that we didn't get any of our $15,000 back. I was prepared to make that risk because of wanting to have this community event. I'm not prepared to have more than that, which was my second. What if there's a further loss? I don't want anybody coming back to us and say, well, it's actually, I don't want that. And that wasn't my motion. And if I can't get a clear yes or no answer on alcohol at the school, then I'm going to be compelled to change my vote. Whereas otherwise I would vote for it and be a supporter.
Is it the venue that's the only issue?
At the school, alcohol at the school, I'm a no vote. I don't care what else happens, I'm a no vote on that. If you can look me in the eye and say that's not on the table and it won't be on the table, no matter what Randy says or anybody else, then I'm back to my original motion, which was I supported in principle, and it's up to $15,000, and I would still feel that way. I think it's a good community event. I think our businesses could use a shot in the arm, and I appreciate Councillor Brown going and talking to them. That's exactly the kind of information that we need.
So, Shelley, it's up to you.
It's up to, it's not just up to me. It's up to my board. And right now, everybody, has voiced the same thing. The people that are in town that have talked to me, they're supporting all of that. I'm not sure, and if you would have called me directly, I would have had so many more answers for you, instead of calling Cinda.
I saw two people here and called one of them. I should have called the other one, I guess. But
I would have had a lot more information for you.
Now's your chance. You tell me everything you want to tell me.
So this is what I've been saying. I understand that everybody's a little hesitant. Is it just because of the school that you're having this frustration over the alcohol?
I've already told you that.
Okay, so if we change the venue?
My only concern is alcohol at the school. You can have it wherever you want.
So bear with me then.
Or without alcohol. It doesn't matter to me. I'm saying my only concern, this is just Councillor Burton, I'm not going to vote yes if you have alcohol at the school, or even if you're proposing to. You have to tell me you're not going to get a yes vote.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying. And that's just me. Everybody else might have a completely different opinion.
Well, we've done a little bit of a contingency plan just in case this is, a hard sell, right?
I have to know a yes or no, or I'm going to vote no, just so that that's clear to you.
Well, we're also looking at the ice arena. Like, I don't know, I don't have an answer for you at this hot second. I have to have a board meeting.
Well, I'm just one of 5 votes, or 7 votes.
Well, then, in my opinion, I think we need to have a vote right now then.
So
that's my opinion. And we're just going to assume that there's alcohol at the school with this vote. That's my opinion.
Okay. Councillor Jensen.
Okay, well, in listening to everything, I don't At first the question was, had we been deceived? And I don't, looking at it, I don't feel like I felt like I was deceived. I felt more like I was naive, more. I question the sale of alcohol at the high school. I would be more comfortable with it at the Agrodome or someplace else, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. As far as the $15,000 that's committed, I would like a written statement saying that you won't come back and ask us for more than that. I'd like
that's never been in question.
Security like that. But,
sure.
And last, I question being able to sell 1,000 or 750 or 600 tickets, especially when people are telling me that apparently Trevor Panzak came last year and they couldn't even sell 40 tickets, and so
it's a different artist though.
So
right?
Anyway, I don't know. I didn't attend, and for me, I'm not too sure about a country western artist. I know I went to the Rotary Dine and Dance thing at Christmas time, and Cam Clark was playing, and he was playing country music, which is fine. It's not my favorite, but anyway. But when no one was dancing, but as soon as he started playing rock, everyone got up and started dancing, and so I question whether we're a country western community. So I don't know. I just, I want to see it fly. I like the idea. I'm trying to bring in more economy into our community and all of that, but I do have those concerns. So.
Councillor Court, what's your last take on this one?
I'm just trying to figure out.
Am I unmuted or mute? There we go.
You're good.
All right. Can you hear me?
Good. All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out.
All right. I'm just trying to figure out what the letter from Jim Ralph, who it's signed by, who authorized it. As the whole board feel the same way as Jim Ralph does. I've been in contact with other councillors, and they're not sure they've even heard of this letter, or other school board trustees. That's one thing I'm a little bit concerned about. The second concern, I understand the concern about alcohol, but it's really, is that what we're going to withdraw our support on because we don't want alcohol at the school? That's my question. I would be still in favor of having it at school. I don't think the alcohol is going to get to the kids. Younger artists, I don't know if they're even worth being alcohol, so that's up to them. It's not my concern. I don't think it's going to be an effect on the school, so I would still support the $15,000.
Okay. Councillor, can we go ahead?
I'm going to try to word this correctly, but I'll make a motion to support the chamber and their event and their request of $15,000 with the event to be held at the high school.
Is that pending?
That's my motion.
So it's not
Assuming alcohol or not?
Are we this naive that alcohol is not at concerts? Like I'm getting frustrated at this conversation. Like I was sitting here listening, like alcohol was not like, they don't have to bring it up because it's a concert. Like in my mind, it's a concert. There's alcohol there. Like I get so frustrated at this kind of discussion, and my motion is the way it is. And
no, what I'm trying to say was not the alcohol. I was wondering if it was pending the result of Mr. Taylor survey for this executive
gotcha. Okay.
sale.
I think so, yes. Okay, so pending the Mr. Taylor's.
I don't know who Mr. Taylor is.
Well, I don't know how is
Martin.
your promoter.
Martin?
Yeah, Randy Martin.
Sorry.
Pending Mr. Martin's success, should I say, or
marketing campaign.
Marketing, yeah.
And then are we gonna do we make a decision after that again? Am I approving are we making a motion to approve in? That's all you need to say. Just that. 'Cause can you read that back to me?
chamber and their events worth $15,000.
Pending Mr. Martin's marketing campaign.
The support of his campaign.
Mhm.
The su- yeah, okay.
Pending
The
the
support,
support.
pending the support of
Right.
Mr. Martin's campaign,
Yeah.
marketing campaign.
Okay. So there we have a motion, and
I want to add one more comment.
go ahead.
I'm just making this motion because I think we're going around in circles here, and I'm done discussing it. I think we just have to have a vote, and there's one stickler in this thing, so let's just have a vote and get it over with.
Hold on, Councillor Court wants to say something.
Yes, I understand the school board has not had a meeting since they approved the sale of alcohol at the high school. They have not had a board meeting, so I'm just wondering where Mr. Ralph's authority is coming from. I know he's the head, the chair, but I'm just not quite sure all their councillors, all their trustees knew what that letter was coming out. Only comment.
I'm sure it was right after the meeting, no?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, they haven't had a meeting in since.
Yeah, they haven't had a meeting since they approved what you were talking about with the alcohol in the school and everything else.
But Councillor, even if they do pull out, they would still find another place in which to have this. So either
Well, I understand.
we either
Yes,
we
I
support it, period, or
I understand
not.
exactly what you're saying. I'm just giving
I understand exactly what you're saying. I'm just giving you extra information on this, that the school board has not had a meeting since the original approval of the letter.
I
Do
think
they-
one last comment, Mayor. Sorry.
Jeff
Okay.
wanted to say something. Jeff,
Oh,
go ahead, and
I
then
was
Councillor Kenley.
Sure. I was just going to say, Mayor, I'll touch base with Peter tomorrow just to make sure I understand the timing and intent of when this letter was sent, just so we're all clear, and I'll send that out to you.
Okay, so I really honestly think the motion is a motion of approval for the event, not for the venue. Correct?
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's
I
a
mean,
motion
it's
to
a-
approve the,
The event's going to be
Yeah.
happening at the high school,
but
correct?
maybe not. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. This is why Jeff has to check. And with what Councillor Court is saying, is that the letter was written maybe not with the full approval of the council. So therefore, that needs to be sorted out. We don't want to get in conflict with the school board. That's the last thing I want to do, is be in conflict with the school board.
I'm
Because
very
they're-
confused about all this, though, to be honest, if I may. Because everybody knew what was happening. We had never, ever hid anything. So for it to go from this council to the county, to the school board, and everybody approved all of this in principle, over what we're laying out, I don't understand the frustration to this degree.
Shelley, let me help you understand then. When the presentation was made, we never asked you, is that event going to be licensed or not?
But when Jeff and I talked, though, I gave him all that information. Not to interrupt, but we definitely had that discussion. And that's why I thought everything was above board. There was never any...
What is important is a presentation. It's not so much what is said here, that what we hear directly from the people that have come as a delegation and speak to us. What we saw, though, in the video, there was definitely a look of alcohol being presented. But because this community is a dry community, it never was maybe thought twice that it would be an event with alcohol.
But we're trying to be respectful.
Councillor Kenley has a point. Any entertainment, concert or whatever, always has alcohol, but in towns where alcohol flows anyways. In this town, it's different.
But may I?
Being naive.
Yes,
Right.
I agree.
Right? So that's the whole point.
I think being respectful, I do not feel, I think the majority of us do not feel that we were that we were, what was the word? That you
Deceived?
held back, deceived. Take that away. There was no deception here.
No, I never
I
thought.
feel like that's disrespectful. So if we can get rid of that word and say, did some of our counselors just not have enough information? Maybe that's it. But I at no time feel that anyone on this table was deceived.
But we never asked the question
neither do I.
either.
Thank you.
All right.
But why do we have to ask the question about alcohol?
Because
When it's a
fair
concert.
enough.
When it's a concert.
Councillor,
Make your motion.
I've made my motion. I'm waiting for a vote.
We're going to vote, but everybody has a right to talk, Councillor.
I'm well aware.
Can I add just one more thing? The only thing that we're doing is beer and coolers. We're not bringing anything major in. They're going to have wristbands. If we have to limit, we're going to limit. It's not about being disrespectful. We're trying to do this as careful and as gently as we can and still appeal to the people that are coming into town to attend this concert. So it's not just for the people of Cardston, it's for everyone.
Okay, so my motion was to vent at the school. That is what my motion says. If it fails, they might come back to us and say, okay, it's going to be at the ice rink, it's going to be the Jaeger Dome, and we'll have another discussion.
So in your motion, you have the location.
The location. So can you please read it, Jill, one more time?
To support the chamber in their event in the amount of $15,000 at the high school and in support of Mr. Martin.
All in favor? Okay. All in favor?
Against?
Against?
It passes.
It passes.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Councillor Burton, I need my agenda.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
I do want to make one comment.
Go ahead.
I'm not trying to be disrespectful when I talk. I just get very frustrated. I feel like we go around in circles lots of the time, but the circles are sometimes necessary. I just think that it's frustrating in my mind. What may be simple in my mind might not be simple to everyone else here. So I want to apologize for that. I'm not trying to out anyone. Again, I want to get to the point, and we've all had a good discussion. That's all I'm saying.
Councillor Kenley, it's okay. Sometimes it takes many turns around to be able to clarify the issue.
So when I raise my voice, not that I really raise my voice, but I'm just trying to get my point across.
No problem.
Thank you.
No problem. I mean, I think the whole idea of an event in town is good. To me, there's too many unknown regarding the position of the school board. I wish it had been clearer for me to vote in favor. I am not against the event as an event, and I said that to Mrs. Willett before. And I really think, I don't want to get muddled up in a school board who says, well, we voted the way we voted because you agreed upon, or your vote made us think that you had approved it. So that is the confusion, right? And so for me, that is where the difficulty is. I wish we'd had clarification before I would have voted. I am not against. I'm not against the event, not at all.
The intent of my phone calls was to gather more information. That's all I was calling about because there seemed to be a deficit of it.
And it exploded.
But there was a gaping hole in our information.
Yeah. We cannot entertain you. I'm sorry.
I'm not against the event. I'm for the event. That's why I voted how I did. I question about selling alcohol at the high school, and that was my hesitation,
Yeah.
And that was it. I would be much more comfortable and more supportive if it was at the Agrodome or someplace else. So.
Well, it's all right. If they can pull it through, by all means. Okay, let's move on. My goodness. So on the committee reports, we have some, I think, next month we probably ought to do a little bit better, bring them in, and myself included. I have the mayors and reeves, and I have not brought it forward. I'm sorry. The CA report, we have Jeff has been quite busy. We've done quite a few things, and Councillor Brown has been quite involved also with First Nations, and thank you very much for all what you've done. It's really making a difference, I feel. And then the CPO January report, well, there's still a lot of hours worked and still a lot of dogs to be caught, and there's still a lot of boots on the ground that need to happen.
But actually, this is to Jeff. I have noticed, and people just today on Main Street were noticing. I don't know if it's because our new employees started on Main Street, but Main Street dogs are gone.
Yes.
Something has happened.
I did a random
fabulous.
survey and the number was 0.
So I feel like we need to take a moment and do a little bit of gratitude towards our new employee, if in fact it's all him, because yeah, that's what I thought. So hallelujah, because my mom's not afraid to go to the post office now, because there's not the crazy dogs after her. And on Main Street, it just looks better. So I forget the new employee's name, but can we just say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, there's still some wiry dogs out there he can't get his hands on, but yeah, the pound is currently full right up. So
awesome, thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. Now, we're moving along. Anything you want to highlight from your CAO report, Jeff, or anything coming up that we
you're making an assumption. I've looked at it really recently.
No, the only thing is the sewer plant. You were saying you were going to be meeting with Alberta Engineering and try to see if there was something that could be happening regarding the new technology.
Before could I ask my question before he answers that, because it's related?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Jeff, I was just confused in your report on the water treatment. You said that it could possibly still be done for the original amount. I was wondering which original amount.
Right, anywhere between 5 and 27 million, Councillor.
Right, exactly.
No, to the point. Associated, we're still trying to get everybody, as far as the regulators and everybody in a room. It looks like we're getting there. However, in the meantime, they've been exploring some other technologies. One that is called MABR. Don't ask me to break it down any more than that. But they're getting some good feedback on some other technologies that may bring those costs back down closer to our original estimates. The efficacy still and some of the application still needs to have some due diligence, but they were a little more optimistic in a couple of things they were exploring.
Councillor Grainger.
So Jeff, the original estimate, I think the number that we had in the budget was $7.5 million for the project. Is that what you're saying? Is that the modified technologies, if applicable, and if we could get provincial buy-in towards that and meet their standards? Associated is thinking if we switch horses a little bit, we could get closer to that number. Is that what you're telling us?
Correct, Councillor. The MABR technology, they're saying, may be able to be fully implemented within the current envelope of the existing building, which would knock all of the building costs off of what the previous estimate looked at. So I'm modestly encouraged about that, but there's some due diligence still.
So second question related to that, is there any headway, or are we making any headway, Associated or anybody, in terms of trying to get the province to back off a little bit on these stringent effluent requirements that they're presenting us?
Yeah, I'm not as confident in that, Councillor, and that's why I've been asking for some time to get the myself. I'm hoping actually next week is when that meeting happens.
Well, I guess my comment would be that I'd be surprised if you're going to get the province to back down unless you went a political route. They don't usually do that out of their own free will. But the way you're suggesting to us that we're going to try and tackle this is that that there are other avenues that we could meet these stringent standards and possibly drop the costs if we use a slightly different technology.
Yeah, that's the hope. And be assured, Councillor Court can attest to this. I made sure while we were in the legislature with Mr. Scow, we had that conversation as well.
Okay.
Good, thank you. Councillor Burton.
Jeff answered my question.
Okay, all right. Okay, let's move forward. Under 9, correspondence. Chief Mountain Waste Solid Waste Authorities, a letter from Mr. Bickman, who said he is taking in consideration all the concerns over the 4 towns had.
So on that point, some of the people at the table kind of took a different, I don't know how to put it, a little bit of pushback. But I called Gary and I said, Gary, I think it was a great letter, and I think every point in it is valid and needs addressing, and he agreed with me, and that's why you got the letter.
Well, I appreciate that.
I thought there shouldn't have been any pushback at all on that.
Thank you. MP Glenn Motz, the letter, not so sure where we will go with that.
So I have a question in regards to this. Again, was on Main Street talking to the businesses today, and we were talking about this letter, and I was wondering, Councillor Selk, when he previously was on council, and Councillor Court and Mary, you'll remember this, it feels like when this was talked about during COVID, we had built a relationship with the chief from Browning. And I'm just wondering if that might be a letter, an email that needs to go out asking for their support, because I'm hearing that it might not just be Canada that's the problem here, that it might be the Americans. So if in fact that's the case, what would be wrong with us reaching out to the chief from, I'm sorry, I forget his name, from the Blood Tribe in Browning, to see if we can get their support, to see if maybe they can reach out to the governor, we can work together, something, I'm not sure.
I think that's a fantastic idea. What they're doing, and I've talked to people on both sides of the border, and it's killing some people.
It's destroyed the businesses.
You know, we could even, I love that idea. What if we went even one step further and we just did a joint letter? So it's from the county, from us, from whoever else we can get, the Blood Tribe, both sides, Blood Tribe.
So I would like to make that.
All of that. And then if I could just add one thing, he makes reference to Minister so-and-so.
Yeah,
like, let's send him a letter, a really pointed one, saying, Minister so-and-so, this is a real problem.
And I really even thought that we need to send it also to the leader of the opposition at the Fed level, because we need to go.
This is just what they're looking for.
We need to go a little further up to kind of build our case here this time around. So I totally agree with that, and I'm pretty sure Jeff probably has the contact because we had contacted them before, so somewhere down the line there must be some correspondence. Go ahead.
I would like to direct administration that we reach out to the chief of the Blood Tribe in Browning.
Blackfeet Tribe, Council.
Sorry.
It's not the Blood Tribe.
Oh, yeah.
Blackfeet Tribe.
Sorry, Blackfeet Tribe in Browning, and that we try and drum up support from them, from the governor of Montana, and the county, Cardston County. Blood Tribe, and also that it be sent to the public safety minister, is who he refers to in his email to us. Of course, Glenn Motz needs to be CC'd on that, and all the other. Joe Biden. Yeah, let's go with that. Is there any?
You can't read any.
Could we add any more to it?
Yeah, the Chamber of Commerce.
Clearly, I meant the Chamber of Commerce should be on there, and
St. Mary on the reserve, or is it a separate community?
I don't know this.
Let's look at that one too, because you know their places down there are suffering because lack of business of us going down.
Anyway, does that ish? Councillor Grainger, we can't hear you.
Sorry, what about the city of Kalispell to your list?
Great idea, Councillor. Thank you. Clearly, I also said Kalispell.
And, you know,
I feel like that's it. Are we
yeah.
good?
Yeah, I think we're good. Any comment, Councillor?
Yeah, at this point, I wonder if, we shouldn't see if we could get media attention.
Let's go there first. And when we have absolutely no leverage?
Well, I think that the media would put pressure on all of those people first.
So what comes first, the chicken or the egg?
So, Councillor, I don't disagree. I do feel like I would like to give them the heads up first. I personally would like a heads up before you put my head on the platter. So I would, just putting that out there. So I would, do you know what I'm saying? I think that's the respectful way in which to handle it, is we let them be a part of it if they all choose to be a part of it and we're not heard. My concern is we have this window. We have this window before summer starts. And so if we do not hear soon, then yes, my friend, I absolutely agree that we need to then get a little bit louder.
My point is because it's coming summer, and that the border being closed affects all of the businesses in the southern Alberta area. But it's not, as it was outlined here, it's not just our border, it's all across Canada, all of those borders that are remaining closed.
Everybody's doing this.
And they shouldn't be.
Okay. Did you have Emily?
Yep.
Inside there?
Yep.
Okay, all right. So we have a motion. All in favor for that letter to be sent? Thank you so much, Councillor. It's a brilliant idea. All right. Tanya Thorne, she always has a lot to say. There is going to be a couple sessions on a budget that you can catch online, and they are going to kind of analyze it all and what it's going to mean for us as municipalities. Jeff, maybe you can tell me, or Councillor Court, was there anything regarding the long-term financing for municipalities, or what it looks like, what it's based on, pre-COVID, post-COVID?
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I didn't catch anything on that. There was a line item that mentioned Cardston, but as far as the actual, I don't remember. Jeff, do you remember anything on that?
Yeah.
So, for council's context, I attended a different meeting than Councillor Court did. So, yes, Alberta Municipalities was in the same meeting I was, and MSI for this upcoming fiscal 23-24 is, as it's kind of always been announced, at 485 million. So I believe that's static. They did give the starting point for the local government fiscal framework, which is good because it's kind of been estimated to this point. So the LGFF 24-25 fiscal is supposed to start at 722 million. So that's a good thing.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
So, yeah, the other thing that Councillor Court mentioned was in the, sorry, I've just got a bunch of notes here from that meeting. In the notes in the budget discussion, there was Cardston was mentioned in that Cardston, Whitecourt, and Bassano were allocated $18 million in order to do their full due diligence on new hospitals. So that was the announcement relative to Cardston.
The budget was very, very general.
The budget was very, very general, so Jeff was actually in a meeting where he got more of the specifics than I did.
Mm-hmm.
So the 18 million is due diligence, meaning all the studies that need to be done, that were done years back but not completed. That is the story, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
I think it is worth saying thank you to our MLA Joseph Scow for squeaking the wheel loud enough that we're getting a line item on the budget. That's fantastic. So thank you.
Yeah, next budget we want the line item for the sewer plant.
There we got a little gratitude.
Amen to that.
Glass half full, man. Glass half full.
No. we got to start somewhere. We're grateful for anything we get, honestly. That had been announced for quite a while, but it was not funded, and so I'm grateful that it is now funded. Maybe we'll move one step closer to knowing what the future will bring to this town. Alberta Health Services, an update. Now, the next one is an interesting one. It's a senior community and social service Alberta, with a declaration of the week in June, I think, sometime. Am I correct?
Yeah.
So I thought that was an interesting one, but there again, every time you have a declaration of a day, unless the town is willing to spearhead events and spearhead some activities regarding seniors, no sense to have a senior day declared unless we have something positive to show for. And just to declare it and do nothing, it's not very helpful. So what can we do? Are you interested in declaring it? Or do you want to leave it up to the community, as I do every other year, to have their dinners at seniors or whatever? Or are we hosting a dinner for the seniors?
So I have a question on this. In the letter it says, expression of interest by February 28th, which is today, to help kick off. It says the community with the select expression of interest will receive $5,000 grant to co-host a provincial lunch event Seniors Week. So does that mean everyone gets $5,000 or select? If you're special enough to fit the criteria, you too will get the $5,000.
Well,
is this smirked yes, Jeff?
Community with this selected expression.
That's
Yeah. So if I might, Mayor, Councillor Brown, I haven't looked into this super thoroughly. My reading of it was that they were going to, let's say, feature a community that was doing something quite extraordinary to kick it off.
But it's today.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So I'm a little like, I feel like we missed that.
Okay.
So what's the point?
Well, what's the point? Yeah, right. But during that week, make sure if you know a senior, or if anybody in the community has a senior in their community that can benefit from a little treat or a little something, do something.
I'll take it what's popping. I said, I'll take it what's popping. I'm a senior.
Oh, gee, Councillor. I was thinking a little.
Put it on your calendars to ring Councillor Quarter.
The muffin.
We'll flood him.
Okay, so that concludes the public session of council. Councillor Kenley.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session.
Thank you.